It is not Christmas without the Nutcracker, and it is no surprise why the story is so popular. It has everything we love about Christmas: Christmas trees, candies, snowflakes, princesses, dreams, handsome princes, and of course magic. The story is absolutely free of theology or religion. It appeals to people in many different countries, in spite of their views and beliefs. It is also one of the most performed ballets in the world, with magnificent music that immediately calls up the feeling of something Christmassy. Welcome to Personality Matters. I'm Arthur Kems, and today we will be talking about Tchaikovsky. Tchaikovsky was born on May 7, 1840 in Russia. He was the second eldest of his parents' 6 surviving offspring. Tchaikovsky showed a passion for music at an early age, and that pleased his parents, but they placed different hopes in their son. They wanted him to work in civil service, because at that time music was not considered a profession with a good income. Not surprisingly, this was an era before rock stars. So at the age of 10, Tchaikovsky began to attend the Imperial School of Justice. Following his parents' plan, he took up a clerical post at the Ministry of Justice and stayed in the job for 4 years. During that time, he developed such a strong interest in music that at one point he started taking music lessons. He then enrolled at the newly founded St. Petersburg Conservatory, where he was one of the first music composition students. Studying at the conservatory impacted Tchaikovsky in 2 ways. First, he became a musical professional. Basically, he learned what was needed to thrive as a composer. Second, he formed a mindset that helped him merge Western music concepts with traditional Russian ones. In a nutshell, he managed to combine Russian and European influences, which found their way in his compositional style. In a way, he proved that these 2 aspects of Russian culture were actually both interesting and mutually dependent. That, by the way, later became the foundation for other Russian composers in creating their own style. After graduating from the conservatory, Tchaikovsky was short on money. So for a while he even considered getting back to public service. Historians have not uncovered whether it was his mother or his father that first said, "I told you so." But luckily he was offered a job at the newly founded Moscow Conservatory. He quickly accepted the offer and totally consecrated himself to his true passion, music. There are several factors that contributed to Tchaikovsky's music gaining popularity. First, his former professor Nikolai Rubinstein made considerable efforts to spread Tchaikovsky's music. Second, lots of first-rate artists of that time were willing to perform Tchaikovsky's music, like for example these people:
Adele Austeroha, Max Erdmannsdorfer, Eduard Napravnik, Sergei Taneyev.
I hope you can pronounce their names much better than me. Third, a fundamental change happened in the attitude of Russian audiences. If before they went to listen to showy, virtuoso performances, now they became interested in music itself. And in this way, Tchaikovsky's compositions were very popular. They were performed regularly, with just few delays between performances. For most of us non-music professionals, Tchaikovsky is identified with 2 probably most performed and famous ballets in the world, the Nutcracker and Swan Lake. Well, we have already said a few words about the Nutcracker at the beginning of the video. We said that today you cannot imagine Christmas without it, but the question is why it is so popular. Consider the story. A young girl, Clara, gets Christmas presents, and one of them is the Nutcracker. The Nutcracker comes alive and saves Clara from an army of mice and their king. Then the Nutcracker turns into a handsome prince, and together they travel to a snowy fairyland. There, Clara meets the Sugar Plum Fairy and her cavalier. Clara tells the tale of the battle. Soon, Clara is dancing herself and only stops to witness the most beautiful of all dances by the Sugar Plum Fairy and her cavalier. Then, Clara awakens from her dream and finds herself by her Christmas tree with her dear Nutcracker. So, there is no surprise why the story is so popular. It has everything we love about Christmas: Christmas trees, snowflakes, candies, princesses, dreams, handsome princes, and of course magic. As we have already said, the story is absolutely free of theology or religion. It appeals to people in many different countries, in spite of their views and beliefs. Today, it is hard to believe that the story that people have been watching for more than a century was not an immediate success. Actually, the very first production in 1892 was a failure. Nobody liked it, neither the critics nor the audience. Surprisingly, the only person who appreciated it was the Russian Tsar Alexandre III. But the ballet gained popularity a bit later with future productions, particularly in the United States. If the Nutcracker is the most famous Christmas ballet, Swan Lake is believed to be the most frequently performed one. The story itself has already become iconic. Swan Lake is considered to be one of Tchaikovsky's best works. Here's a summarized version of the story. Prince Siegfried is hunting when he comes across a flock of swans at a lakeside. The moment he aims his crossbow at the swans, one of them turns into a beautiful woman, Odette. However, Odette, like her companions, is cursed by a spell of the evil sorcerer von Rothbart, and the only possible way to break the spell is to swear to love Odette forever. No problem, Prince Siegfried is ready to do that. But the evil sorcerer comes up with a terrible plan. He disguises his daughter Odile to look exactly like Odette and brings her to the ball where the prince is supposed to choose a bride. So the prince declares his love for the wrong woman, and Odette remains cursed forever. The prince and Odette drown themselves and are united in death. So wonderful and dramatic at the same time. These days, it is hard to believe that the very first performance was a failure. Yes, this one too. Anyway, it was harshly criticized by almost everybody. The critics, the audience, the orchestra, the dancers. The stage sets were all ridiculed. Dancers complained about the music to be hard to dance to. Wow! The ballet was performed only once in 1877 and then was completely abandoned for almost 20 years. It was revived only in 1895, 2 years after Tchaikovsky's death. Tchaikovsky's life was far from being easy, neither his professional life nor his personal one. But despite that, admirable was his ability to write such cheerful and sensual music that conquered listeners' hearts all over the world. Thank you for watching Personality Matters. We talk about people who made the world. Until next time, I'm Arthur Kemps.